Hey there, this is Dr. Pam Perry, and we are here on Amazon Live and YouTube Live talking about showing up with excellence with author Dr. Josiah Jackson. We're going to bring her up right after this.
Hey yo, kick back, relax, let's dive in the page. Pam Perry picks got the books for your brain. From fiction to non-fiction, all genres insane. We coming through showing love to the lit game. Greatest stories ever told, gotta find your pick. Imagination running wild, ain't nothing slick. Get lost in the pages, let your mind drift. Pam Perry picks got your brain in the bookshelf vibe. Turning the pages with pride. Pam Perry picks got the words by your side. Bookshelf vibe, turning pages with pride. Pam Perry picks got the words by your side. From the classics to new, we got the books for you. Get your mind right, let the knowledge accrue. Bookshelf vibe, expanding horizons by Pam Perry kicks, keeping readers satisfied. Books up high, knowledge we can't deny. Get your reading on, the book one fly. Click cover image.
Hey there, hey there. So get your reading on. How are you, Dr. Josiah?
I am doing wonderful. I love the music.
Good, good. That's my theme song. That was actually done by Dr. Bobby Ivory, who did that theme song. Pam Perry's Picks. He knows I love books. So may his soul rest in peace because he passed, my creative director, 3 years ago now.
Wow.
I can't believe it. It's been 3 years ago.
Oh, wow.
But he did a lot of different things for me as well. So tell us a little bit about yourself really, really quick.
Well, I am a speaker, educational excellent speaker and author. I help educational leadership as well as faith-based communities, move from burnout. This is that time of burnout and frustration. I help them lead with authority and lead with purpose.
I love that. I love that. So educational excellence. So that is one of the things that we're going to talk about today. School is out for the summer and teachers are getting a reset, a reframe, a recharge. And let's talk about your book, Show Up with Excellence, and what really sparked this book and what it is that you've been getting feedback on.
Absolutely. It sparked with this generation of children. I actually still teach. I do. So excited about that. But, what we started to see in social media from our president, government leaders down, there's so much negativity. And because I teach children, I love, and I say younger children, I should say younger children, because, I've taught high school and junior high as well. But we want them, this new generation, to know that there's still a spirit of excellence, that we don't have to show up with what we've been seeing and hearing on social media. And I know we all came from, when we were in the space of 2020. And I sense, we all were there. So we were seeing everything. Every social media site was showing everything. And moving on from that, as schools started again, there just seemed to be this drag, this lag of education is not really important. It is, but it's not. What I do, what I say is not important. Who knows? Who cares? Sort of attitude. And I noticed even this younger generation, those who are working 20 and 40-year-olds, they're having a hard time. Because some of them had not been taught. They come from different households where there was no one to teach them what probably you and I in our generation talked about all the time. Now, even when we grew up, I'm sure you heard this, don't share your laundry. Don't talk about, what stays here, in this house.
Or sweep it under the rug.
All of that. And so what I noticed, I started to notice really between 2023 and 2024, this mindset of we don't care how we look, we don't care how we speak, we can just treat each other any kind of way, and it's okay. It's okay. Well, we have a young group of people who, believe it or not, some children don't even like that either. And so what sparked this book was, wait a minute, let's talk about this. Let's still show up, because guess what? I know I'm one that still shows up with excellence because I grew up with that. Many of us have. And here's the funny part, Dr. Pam. Even after I wrote the book, I'm amazed how many more people feel the same way. Yes. Many of us are still showing up with excellence. We talk about it. We tell each other. But for some reason, we're feeling social media should lead in that and saying, no, do what you want. But that's really what sparked this book, the conversation in this.
I like that. It's really a breakdown of values. And that's what you kind of talk about really having community cohesive now. Really, in America, we have to be more cohesive, and so you have like just it's a really quick read, but you talk about showing up and shaking the world, step up and stand out, the
Mhm.
battlefield and excellence, and then the winning attitude, which is really probably the most important thing, and then excellence arrives. So let's kind of talk a little bit about step up and stand out because I'm really a publicist like talks about stepping up and getting out and standing out. But let's talk about that particular chapter, what that one is really all about stepping up and standing out.
Absolutely. Well, again, because you said you're a publicist and you know what it's like, guess what? We can talk about it. You know, you always share with us visibility. And
Mhm.
yes, we have that access right now. And that's what's so great. We just came out of this weekend of 2050, and so many people able to share their views. And that's what Step Up and Stand Out really is talking about. Step
Mhm.
up, stand out, and share the message, especially about being excellent. Many of us grew up that way. We'll start sharing, start telling that story. We don't just have to sit and hear what we see on social media. And again, you know, there's good and bad, and that's the way the world is made. But at the same time, step up, talk about it. As an educator, absolutely. You
Mhm.
have, it's in, it's, I want to say the door is open, walk right
Speak.
through
Yep.
and talk
Speak
about
up.
it.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And
So
speak
let's
up.
step up
So I'm
and
gonna read. Yeah, so I'm gonna read a little bit of this part, Dr. Josiah. It just says, as we push toward the spirit of excellence, let's focus on characteristics that help us stand out. If we want to see excellence, we must lean in, become active participants. It's like saying we've done our due diligence, confirming not just effort, but also the value of our beliefs. So, really speaking up, it says, when you embrace these characteristics, you'll find they directly impact you and which in turns impact others. It says because in being an impact player, below are some of the characteristics to consider. And so real some of them are, you know, really enthusiasm, being obedient, supportive, dedication, assurance, and then meekness. Let's talk a little bit about meekness. Meekness is not that you go and hide, but explain what you mean by meekness. Meekness is really power, but I'll let you explain that.
it is, and you know, again, meekness is not that you have to just be timid. Now, I'm still timid sometimes, but meekness is it's that soft, you know, part of
Yeah.
you. It's still there, and I would say because I've heard this from myself many times. People say you're quiet, but when you speak, and
Yes.
you know the right time to say what you have to say. And
Yes.
so really meekness is that, you know, it's not that you always have to say everything all the time, but it's that quiet timid attitude, or I guess I would say persona on the outside. And so
Mhm.
yes, we still have to hold that, but it's not being weak. It's not, you know, I don't care attitude. It is just yes, when we need to speak, we will speak. And you know what, we don't even have to say it real loud and have an attitude with it.
That's true. My daughter did a TikTok not too long ago, and she said, she said sometimes when she goes to a party, she's quiet, and she says one way to really shut an introvert down is to say to them, "Oh, you're so quiet," and it's like she was like, "So what am I supposed to say? Oh, thank you." And she says, sometimes people need to be in their thoughts. Sometimes they need to warm up. Or if I have nothing to say, I'm not just going to rattle off anything. Or she says, "What do you expect me to do? Come in tap dancing, doing cartwheels?" So meekness is just like it's subdued, but when you do speak, it is with purpose. With intention. And
Exactly.
so sometimes people can be loud. There's a song, it says speaking loud and saying nothing or whatever it's called. So you want to make sure that you are going to speak and it has something to do with the conversation at hand. And that's what meekness is knowing when to fit in. And it's really about a value of really understanding what you said, being supportive, being supportive, being dedicated. And it says these characteristics help you carry a spirit of excellence into every environment you enter. And I like when you talk about, because you even talk about on the back of the book, it says they also allow you to build stronger, lasting relationships with those around you. And if there's anything what social media has really destroyed, it's personal relationships. I don't think people have the emotional intelligence like they used to have years ago because they don't have to deal with people and see their reactions as much anymore. And then you go on and say demonstrating love and compassion, which really ignites joy in those who may feel tired, weary, or discouraged. And that I really, really like. So kind of expound on that when you have a spirit of excellence, how you will bring that out of others, how you will ignite joy in others, and why it's not social media digs. Okay. So
Absolutely.
mhm,
Absolutely. And interestingly, I just want to go back to say a lot of times when people hear having that excellence, and so people right away think it's an appearance or how I look. It's not. It's about how you show up when you walk through a room. And again, I'm sure you and I know there used to be, that time when the party doesn't start until I show up. And again, you think of that person entering the room,
mhm,
everybody looks because of it may be what they have on. But again, that's what show up with excellence looks like. You can enter the room and people may wonder who is this, especially if you come in quietly and you sit quietly, you'll still have attention. So again, when you do come in, it's about having that knowing who you are, confident who you, and you
yeah,
can still show up with the bad day. Because I even in the book did talk about that because sometimes we do show up and we're tired. We don't feel like talking. We don't feel like being at the meeting. And
mhm,
so
mhm,
we still show up, but when you come in, it's how the mannerism you have. And a lot, and actually, even with writing the book, that's how I end up writing it because I've been told many times after a meeting, people will come and say, I love that you were in this meeting. I would look over at you and you had a smile on your face. And I tell people, smile. And
yes,
so, yes, absolutely. Sometimes, and so again, it's about how we show up. And sometimes we don't. I don't say, well, how do I look today? But I know if I smile,
you
and
feel better. You feel
absolutely, yes.
it
So,
is.
so absolutely. So when you walk in any room, any place, doesn't have to be, indoors, outdoors. When you show up and just be a part of it, because guess what? And I know I'm not sure if we get to that part, but it's about you helping to serve, you being there for others, because others may have a bad day and they're
Mhm,
looking at you. So
mhm. It's about being kind. I really do think a lot of times they says, "Well, I'm having a bad day or whatever." And then if someone smiles at you, even if you're on the elevator, you feel better. So it's
yes,
not, I always tell people, it's not always about you. So if you just smile, you may be brightening someone else's day. It's showing up with excellence. Get on the elevator, giving someone a nod on the street, acknowledging that you see them. Those are really, really good things to practice, not just things to, oh, that's a good suggestion, but to practice and to do them. And that's what you're really trying to teach people, that put these things into practice, show up with excellence. You can't be, it's not like we're trying to be perfect, but we really want people to understand that you can show up with excellent attitudes, excellent ways that you carry yourself, and how you feel about yourself projects, really projects on others. And I always tell people too that sometimes some of the simple things, and you just even talk about this towards the end of the book, you kind of give a little bit about your posture, and when you're speaking, when you're talking, sit up straight. It really makes a difference of how you're going to project. And you said, just really focus on really your posture, stand up tall, not bend over. And that makes such a big difference. And people don't understand that. And I remember being young and having teachers tell that to me. And I was like, why do they always say sit up straight? Why do they say that? What is the psychology behind that? They always say, "Sit up straight," that sort of thing.
well, yeah, the psychology is your diaphragm. When
Mhm.
you do sit up, you speak better.
Yes.
We don't hear ourselves and we don't check ourselves, but that's why our diaphragm, our voice is better when we speak up and talk clear. But it's more, as you say, the science of it more than our mentality of knowing why we're sitting up and why we're being told that.
Mm.
Like you was told that from my mother, and again, teachers sit up, and
Yeah.
because and when you do speak. Your diaphragm, from it will, like singers, if you think about singers, they
Yes.
have to practice standing a certain way, and so it's about how you're speaking, how it's coming out vocally, and so yes, absolutely, there's a reason. I
Yes.
always tell people practice and practice speaking up and sitting, and then kind of sitting slumped and see how you sound.
Yes. Yes. And then how you feel. You will feel better when you're sitting up than versus slumped over. It's just a whole attitude there. And then you talk about speech. One of the things that I had an aunt that was always so gracious and people loved being around her. They were attracted to her, but there would be no time. Her name was Aunt Moby. There would be no time where you wouldn't be in her presence and she would give you a compliment. It was just something that she practiced. And she'll say, I don't care what it is. She may say, oh, I just love the way those earrings shine. Oh, I just love that lipstick. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be the outfit or whatever. She says, oh, you just look so refreshed. It could be. And that's one of the things you talk about in your speech. Give thanks and gratitude towards others. That is so key. And my mother-in-law, who is 95, and people love being around her because there's never a time when she does not really genuinely give a compliment to someone or gratitude. If someone takes her to the grocery store, she doesn't drive anymore. She's so thankful. Just thank you for taking me to the grocery store. You know, she gets in a little Walmart buggy and she goes around in the little buggy, and she's just so excited about it. And it's because she's grateful. And people in the line, they notice that. I am not kidding. People in the line will have conversations with her, and I don't know. I mean, they don't have conversations with me. I guess I carry myself differently, but they have conversations with her because of her gratefulness, her attitude. She's going around, even though she's in a buggy and not walking because she can't really walk that fast. So she's in the buggy, but she has such a great attitude. People are saying, "Oh, you know, how are you? You know what?" And they have conversations with her. I'm like, "Okay, Ma." My mother-in-law said, "Okay, Ma, we gotta get going. We gotta get out of here. Let them get through the line, you know, because of her attitude." And I think that's why she's so blessed, 95 years old, going on 96 years old, because of that. And then she shares compliments. She's always talking positive words over others. That is like I want to say, I've known her for 30 years. I want to say that is a practice that she's had. And I think a lot of it has to do with her spirituality. She reads the Bible, does Bible study every morning. Her and my father-in-law, they do that. So part of it is love. So kind of speak a little bit about affirmations and really having that aura of positivity, especially in this era where everything is so negative.
Absolutely. We need affirmations. I still teach affirmations because even if the affirmation is, I will look great today. Or, last few years we've been sharing with young people, I'm a queen, I'm a king. That when you say those words, they stay with you. They stick with you. Even, I tell them, look in the mirror and say it to yourself. And sometimes they'll laugh and it works. It works. When you just tell whatever it is, something positive. It's like the same with writing. When you write something positive, but when you speak those positive words to yourself, they last. And I think there's if you say it, 21 days of the same, to a habit of 21 days. Absolutely. And I say, you don't have to wait for 21 days. Just start saying it every day and you will see that. So the more you tell yourself, the same thing every day. I like myself. I am beautiful. And, so when you say those words, absolutely, it works. And the more you, which if we think about it, it's interesting, just to give the other side of that. The children who've heard the bad, you're ugly, you're fat, you're this. And it's amazing how quickly they remember that. And it doesn't take 21 days. So we really have to work on speaking the positive over ourselves. And so absolutely. Turn the page, do that, and begin to see yourself.
That's so true.
Look, do better and get better.
I think because you're educated, because you're a teacher, that's really important because a lot of the issues that people have in adulthood do start when we're a child. And I was just watching a documentary, not the Michael Jackson documentary that's in the movies, but there was another one just called Michael. And it said that his father treated him bad, but wasn't so much the physical abuse that really was the main thing that really gave him so much trauma. It was the things his father said. His father told him he was ugly. His father said he had a big nose. And so a lot of times Michael, in his growing up in his career, he felt his nose was just not the right nose. So if you remember, even before COVID, he was wearing masks. A lot of times in public, he was wearing like these face masks. And then eventually he got plastic surgery on his nose. That he was at least 50 years old, but something his father said to him very young, he called him a big nose and you're ugly. And so if there's anybody that can really shape a child, it is those people that are, I guess you would say, big influences in their lives, parents, teachers, relatives, those kind of things that they have respect for. And then they're saying negative things. So if you are a teacher, please get this book. You may be burnt out from a lot of things, but if there's anything else, take away from this book is know that you are shaping the psyche of the next generation. And doing positive words of affirmation are really, really important. And you're an example of how you show up and how they're going to show up. So they're going to emulate you. They can emulate other things, but they really emulate teachers. There was a thing, Dr. Josiah, where they said kids spend more time with teachers than they do with their parents. And it is because they're with them, especially little ones. They spend, 4, 5, 6 hours a day in there learning from them. So they're spending more time. And then when they get home, maybe they do some homework or whatever, and then they go to bed. But they spent most of the day being influenced by a teacher.
Mhm.
And if that teacher is negative,
Hmm.
oh my goodness, that is really not the things. So let's talk about some of the activities that you have in the back that you wanted people to do. It says activity focus on an excellent mindset. These are some of the things that you want people to. It's kind of like a SWOT in a way, but kind of tell us a little bit about why you put this in the book and why this is important to write out.
Absolutely. I put them there for one, for those who love to write. Sometimes people are always looking after they read something, they want something to do. So it's a task, but it's also a
Mhm.
way to, once you write it, we just talked about positive words, but when you write, those are, words that you can see over and over. And again, keep repeating that. So absolutely, those activities are
Mhm.
for you, you and your children, family, whoever is reading. If you're a classroom teacher, what a way to get that started, having everyone do these activities, writing out this information. And, because it lasts. I tell people when you write, it lasts because
It
you
does.
have it there for you. And
Yeah.
so absolutely just those activities. And I didn't want to make it a lot because again, timing and what we do, but absolutely to get started with how you present yourself with excellence. And so that's what those activities are all about, just to get you
Mhm.
going, remembering family events and different memories of whatever you and your family are doing, but began to write that down. As a matter of fact, since we're talking about legacy as well, I've been hearing a lot of people talk about legacy. That's another way. Write what
Mhm.
your family's legacy is. So again, those activities are to get the conversation going.
And you have different versions of journals of this as well. So tell us a little bit. You have like a journal that you have show up in excellence. I think it's the journal series one for faith based, and then you
Exactly.
have one for corporate, show up with excellence wealth, and then show up with excellence health. So they're different series. And so explain the different, I guess you say, audiences for each one of those and why that was important to do that.
It was important again so that in those areas people can continue showing up with excellence. Again, interestingly, we do this. It is something we do. We don't focus or pay attention on it, but we do it. But having those other areas, so if you aren't in any of those areas, faith-based, corporate, education, it's just journals that you can keep working on or keep pushing it forward throughout the year.
Mhm.
And so that was the whole idea behind then separate books so that people can just get that to go along with the book, but then talk about it with those journals.
I like it. And then one activity in here that people should do, it says write your achievements, your wins, your goals, and your celebrations, and having that there. And I think a lot of times writing it or keeping up what I call like just a record of it, because a lot of times we forget. We're on to the next thing. We could have won an award, we could have graduated, we could have gotten all these things, but then you forget about it because it was a while ago. But if you go back and look at your achievements, your wins, and your celebrations, those are important. I had my daughter do that. She was like about in ninth grade, all the things that she won or all the things that basically the achievements. And then by the time the 11th grade, she had to write these essays. And she was like, I don't have anything really to talk about. I said, go back to that file. Remember, we talked about that file. You were putting all your wins and all the things that you achieved in this file. She said, oh, yeah, I remember. I won the Optimist Club thing. Oh, yeah, I remember. I did this. And I was like, yeah. I said, if you don't remember it, I'm not going to remember it. That's why I had you rewrite it down so that when you're looking at things, when you have to recollect about all the things that you've done, it does make a difference. And I call it, you can keep it a brag book. Parents keep a brag book sometime with their kids of all this is all the awards that they won. It is important. And
Mhm.
so when she graduated, I had all these different things and these letters. She had some letters from Barack Obama when he was a senator. All those kind of things. They were like part of her achievements, and that made her feel better. But she forgot about it because they were a long time ago. I was like, no, we need to keep a record of it. So in the book, you have people write down their achievement, their wins, and their celebrations. That's really, really key. The other thing is like keeping checklists. Areas of your life where you need to have checklists. And that I love checklists. I love checklists. I'm just like, those are one of the things, but it helps us manage things and to remember what it is that we have to do. And checklists are, because sometimes we can be overwhelmed, but the checklists that you have in here are really like the thing. The chapter that I like the most is about the winning attitude. That's my favorite. That's my favorite one. Really bright, the winning attitude is like the main thing because it says it's not easy getting a pink slip that says your service is no longer needed after a school year. It's not easy waiting for that moment and wondering, will I get hired again? It's not easy following a passion and God-given assignment in education and leadership, only to feel you are in a mental battlefield sitting on one goal. And then you just go on, it says, yet working to gain strength and get back up. And then you just talk about how it's not easy. And you say that you've been there as well. And so it says showing up with excellence is your winning moment because we're all going to have ups and downs, but it's about how you handle the attitude. And you could
Yes.
stay in the same funky attitude and then never be rehired again and never it's so important. It says your performance matter. It's about understanding and recognizing where you stand. And I like that one about a winning attitude. And we can see I I think about, a friend that has gone through so many health challenges, from the standpoint she had a leg amputated
Mhm.
and, from diabetes and young woman, I say young, under 50, and, her attitude, though, is still so good. Even in her with her prosthetic or she's in a wheelchair, she'll go on a dance floor and dance. She'll still do the events. She'll still show up. She's part of our organization, Black Door Society. Dr. Roz is such a good attitude. Now, does she have some down days? Yes. No one wants to lose their leg, but she's grateful that she's still here. She has the right mind. People surround her with love because she's loving.
Mhm.
Now, I think if she had a bad attitude, nobody would want to be around her, but she has really, really talk about that winning attitude. So, where have you seen some winning attitudes that really have been like you marvel at? It's like, wow, how they have just done that.
Right. So, I mean, even throughout my life, having, losing my parents and the attitude of life changing and have to change what I thought was the course of my life, but still having a winning attitude that once I took care of my parents as a caregiver, and then you just keep moving. Once they've passed, life goes on. And again, I've been at that place where I was working for a nonprofit and we closed due to funding. And what do you do? I guess the best way to say this is I had a neighbor who said, um, you know, because I think I've been laid off three times. Each time I keep going. And so
Mm,
my neighbor said, you are never down. I mean, physically or mentally.
mentally.
And
Yeah.
because, and those layoffs are just due to either, funding. But she said, oh my goodness, you're back doing what again? She said, you're always doing something because and again, you're right. I get down because I'll have people asking me, are you ever frustrated? Tired? Yes.
But
Yes.
but you
But
have to flip the page.
you have to keep going and you
Mm,
have to have a good attitude. I don't get up and still this, that happened and woe is me. And, I may have a moment when that happens, but
right.
oh no, I am the person to keep going. So absolutely, when I wrote about winning attitude, it's because my parents taught me, when you get down, you keep going. And so that's
Mhm.
still it's instilled in me. But again, as an adult, from the child to adult, I'm always getting up and moving forward. And so I wrote it to instill in others. Have a winning attitude. Of course, life happens, but you don't have to stay there. Have a
Yes.
winning attitude. And again, like sometimes I say, with that smile, oh, absolutely. No one has to know that you've been through a lot. We've all been
Mhm.
through something,
Mhm. Yeah.
sometimes more than others.
Yeah.
But
If we're
the
living,
key is
we've been through something.
absolutely. And so you just have to get up, tell yourself. And that goes back to those affirmations. Tell yourself. Tell yourself, we're going to do
Mhm.
this. We're going to keep moving. And you have to, whether you're writing it or saying it
That is
physically.
good.
So winning attitude is no matter what's going on, you're going to get back up and keep going. So
where can people find more information about you as well? They can get the book and the link from Amazon Live right there, but where can they actually find out more information about you as well?
they can go to my website, Dr. Josiah J, and it's just Dr. Josiah, Josiah,
I love that.
Yeah,
Dr. Josiah J.com. That's perfect. That's perfect. Well, Dr. Josiah, thank you so much. What do you have coming up? You have new books coming up. You have new speaking gigs. What's coming up next?
Yes, I'll be speaking at so Church of God in Christ is having their annual AIM convention. So I'm going to be speaking. There's a group called Kojic Scholars, and I've been invited to speak. Not each of us have some time, but yeah. So this coming Wednesday, I'll be speaking there about the book, Show It with Excellence, and so excited about that. In Baltimore, so we'll be. So if you're in Baltimore, you're part of Church of God in Christ, or everyone's welcome. So it's a session called Kojic Scholars where I'll be speaking.
I love that. Okay. I don't know if we can hear that.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
My thing was delayed. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been really, really good. And I hope people really find out more about you at drjosiahj.com. They can hire you for workshops and speaking and that sort of thing. And make sure that you get the books and the series as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All righty. God bless you. Bye-bye. Okay.